Alright, this video has only one purpose. It's to show people who actually build things, finish them, the possibilities of what they could do with 1/4 inch thick gray PVC. Now don't give me that, oh, I'll cut off a piece of large PVC tubing that's white and put it in the oven. I had those people that would show up, and it might be the same formula, but when you buy a sheet of PVC plastic, it's very cheap. You can get it on eBay. They make it in sheets up to 4 by 8 foot, 4 foot by 8 foot. You can go to a plastics place and they'll give you pieces and cutoffs, okay? But it's extremely flat, smooth. You can cut it with regular woodworking tools. You can do some incredible things. Forget the 3D printing. Forget that frickin' tugboat, okay? If I see one more person printing out a tugboat, I'm going to scream. There's so many things you can do with just some hand tools and a little bit of skill. You have the part done before you even go to the drawing board. And you visit a slicer software, you got to run through the slicer. Then you run a test piece. Meanwhile, other people are cranking stuff out. Now this is what's called a captive bearing. It's one of my inventions. This is a simple washer. You buy it at Lowe's. I actually have a couple different kinds. It looks slightly different depending on, some of this is like a USA made washer, and this is like a Chinese one, okay? But in other words, you can hold the bearing as an end bearing on a piece of PVC plastic. Now, these 4 holes are for mounting, and they allow a little bit of movement, right, left, up, and down, so you can dial the machine in. Also, if you loosen these 4 bolts, you can move that bearing around in there and get your alignment of your lead screw. Tighten them up. Exactly, super high precision, unlike other people's designs. I don't want to pick on people because it seems like I got sour grapes. But there are people out there selling stuff that's garbage. Okay? Now, you can see here, there's a lead screw, and this is an end bearing. See how it goes on the metal frame? And this is a C channel. Hopefully I got it in the frame here. Okay? This is the channel that goes over the end of plywood to finish it off. Okay? And you can use it. And this is a piece of Delrin. It's got a V cut in it. It rides on that. That's the linear bearing. But you can see you can make all kinds of fixtures out of gray PVC. All right, you can make CNC machines, all kinds of ideas. Now, here's a Dremel holder for a Z-axis. Notice I hold the Dremel in 2 places, at the tip and at the base, or at the back. Okay, and then when you tighten that down, the Dremel does not move. You can also take the Dremel apart and shim up the front bearing. So the machine is super accurate within 3 thousandths. It's actually better than 3 thousandths, depending on how much load you put. It's going to blow the doors off any of those machines, kits that you see on eBay. Okay, a lot of them are now cutting circuit boards. I did that 20 years ago, cutting circuit boards, and I had engineers. You can't do that with a machine. You want to buy one? Do you want to buy a circuit board? I just happen to sell a piker board that's been milled on one of my machines, and I sell them. And they disappear. Okay, and I built so many things out of this. Even that lamp back there, the base of this lamp, I can disconnect it. A little piece of PVC. Okay, and when you cut PVC, gray PVC, the clippings or the cuttings that come off from the saw won't cut you like aluminum. And you can drill, you can tap this, or you can also glue it. Basically just like wood. And when you lay a precision thing out, okay, you don't, I don't know if you could actually see the layout lines, but in other words, see if I get it angled, you might see the layout lines. You don't make a perfectly square block. What you do is you lay out your holes using a compass, a ruler, a real high good end ruler, maybe some squares, miniature squares, and this edge means nothing. What means everything is the distance between these holes and to reference to the center of this, okay? And that's why a lot of times you can lay the part out and then you could finish it up on a scroll saw, and then you belt sand the ends. Or what I used to do before I got the belt sander is I would cut it close with the scroll saw, and then lay a piece of sandpaper on the bench and just rub this back and forth to finish up the ends. Okay, you can make extremely accurate parts. And in the case of this big hole here, okay, you scroll saw it close, and then you put your Dremel tool on. You put that sanding drum on it, and you finish it up. And you test it a little bit at a time and put the Dremel in it and make sure it's a nice fit. And there's a split here. Let's see, undo this. There's a split here, and you get it so you do have you do have some adjustment, okay, to make it even tighter, and one on the bottom. And you know, I was doing all this stuff for years, and then I get the copycats showing up, and a lot of that maker slide come out, and I was going to get involved with that and show them where they messed up, but it showed up. In other words, they made the maker slide profile too small, and people wanted like 8-foot runs, and then they designed the machine in their head where it doesn't flex. It's like a diving board. If you look at a diving board and you never saw one before, you would think that if the person walked out on the end of it, it wouldn't flex. And that's how a lot of people design stuff in their head. They don't realize that a diving board, when you start walking out to the tip, it starts to bend down. And that's part of the diving board. You get your weight up and down, and it helps spring you up. But there are people that statically design things on paper, and then when they build it in reality, it flexes like a kite or a hang glider. And then they email me, and I said, you made the thing too big. And I begged people, don't build a machine bigger than I designed it. And they wouldn't listen. They'd get mad at me. And then they say, oh, he's telling me not to build it any bigger. And then a few people would say, he's telling you that because it's going to flex, and they don't want to hear it. They got static brains. It's not going to flex. They're wonderful. They got great egos. And then they build the machine too big, and then it flexes. And then they come back on the conference. I built this machine. It flexes all over the place. It takes 3 minutes to go from one end to the other. And I'm like, how can a machine take 3 ends? Well, it's 8 foot long. The guy took a set of plans for a 2-foot by 3-foot machine, and he made it bigger. And it told him right in the plans not to do that. Now, all the problems you get from building it bigger is somehow my fault. And that's the stuff I had to swallow all the time. And you're begging people. You're trying to educate them. You know, Cy Sims, he used to have a clothing store, and he said, educated consumer is my best customer. And what he meant was, they walk into his shop and see his suits, and they notice the craftsmanship and the materials, and they know what they're looking at. And then they buy it and they leave, and they're happy. Meanwhile, the dunderheads, the fatheads, the bug eyes, they come in and they're looking at price. And, oh, he doesn't do this or he doesn't do that. An educated consumer is our best customer, okay? When you try to deal with the people that aren't going to buy anything or they're not going to build anything, that's where it becomes real bad real quick. Now, what happened with me was I was watching the Shark Tank, and I had the website, and I'm looking, and they're mentioning some of the things with the customers. I said, you know what, you're right. And the next day I took it down. They opened my eyes up to a few things. In other words, at some point, you should be doing more money, okay? You shouldn't be making minimum wage, working your ass off, okay? And you enjoy it, but at some point it should take off, and it don't. You keep having new groups of people you have to educate, and those people aren't going to finish the machine. And the people that finished the machines, they showed up early, okay, when the hobby first started. I was there, okay? Before 3D printers and CNC machines, I was there. I was the guy, and there were conferences with the old men, and they were all buying a certain controller and motors, and they were spinning their motors. And I coined the phrase motor spinners with all capitals, because they didn't build anything, okay? And someone would mention my name, and that's uncut steel, Well, those guys are dead now, okay? And look at the machines they're selling on eBay. The CNC machines are cheap. They're under like $200. They cut plastic. They'll cut a circuit board. All right, and that's about it, okay? And it's to learn on. That's what I was doing. I was way ahead. But you know what? I still had the leftovers from the guys that may have seen a Bridgeport work at a machine shop. And that's what they were shooting for. And one guy, oh, I'm bringing Bridgie home. He called the name Bridget. And when he got home, it wouldn't fit in the cellar. So he had to ask the guys, what's that grease? He slathered grease on the machine, put a tarp over it, and kept it outside. That's as far as Bridget got. But he was the first guy that actually bought a Bridgeport machine and was going to actually use it. And he never got that far. Now, I was working for a guy. I repaired a Bridgeport. I showed him how to use it and everything. I won't go into that because he never really paid me what he owed me. But anyway, that's the stuff. I had the experience, and I had to argue with the guy who was repairing the Bridgeport. He burned stuff out acting like a retard, okay? And I got it all working. Then he was jealous. See, that's what always happens. I come along, oh, if you think you can fix it, you fix it. And then I fix it, and then now they're all jealous. Well, how did you know how to do that? How do you know how to do everything? Read the manual. You had the manual. I sat there and read the manual. Realized he had all the upgrades on the machine. Oh, you have to do it this way. No, you don't. You got the upgrades. Well, you got to, no, yeah. He was actually, I won't go into it, but stupid is as stupid does. You can't fix stupid. Okay? That's where I'm at now. But this is like one of my coil winding machines. Works off an Arduino. Here's the motor driver board that plugs into the back of an Arduino. It's a module. And I had the other day a guy emailed me. He wanted the plans for this. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down and do a complete set of plans for this. I already done that for what, 50 machines? Okay, 50 sets of plans, and I know where that's gonna go. It's like I'm gonna get less than minimum wage, and every time somebody asked me to do some work for them, I quoted the minimum wage. And they come back, you're crazy, your prices are crazy. This is a old mental person, okay, living back in 1940, all right? And then with the receivers, well, how much do you want to repair it? I said, well, it's $60 to ship it both ways to me, and then I ship it back. $60, you're out of your mind. I only pay $30 for the radio. Oh, yeah, well, what are you going to pay me for my time? That was just shipping. See, this is the people that are out there. Oh, I don't care how much it costs to fix it. And then you give them minimum wage quote. Oh, you're out of your mind. Okay? And they don't shut up and say, oh, gee, I screwed up. I told them whatever it costs. No, you're charging me too much. You said whatever it costs. I'm just giving you the shipping charge. And you're already crying like a little girl. And that's what I used to say to them. After a while, I said, you know what? There's no making people happy. Now, if you got a computer store like my friend did, guy comes in there and he goes, I just won a bid over at the school for a computer system. $20. I got the printer and he's blah, 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 blah. I got this, I got that. And then but there's no hard drive. So my friend, being nice, says to him, for $50, I'll put a hard drive in the unit and load it up with programs for you. $50. I only paid $20 for the computer. And he goes storming out of the store. Right then and there, I should have never went into business. Because those guys, they exist. Someone gives them a car, and they got the car for free, and now they need brakes. So they go into the place, and the guy wants $500 to put brakes on. This is years ago. $500, that's too much money. So they based the $500 based on the fact they got the car for free. And they're out there. Those people are out there. They constantly wait to get free stuff, and then they base everybody else's time on free stuff. And I had a guy on my family that was just like that. And it came down to my boss was selling a house, one of my bosses, and he offered it to my sister, the house, real cheap. And this guy, who's my brother-in-law, he calls me up. He thinks it's too much money for the house. I said, you know what? If you don't buy that house from him, because he's giving it to you like super cheap, just to flip it real quick, get rid of it. He inherited it. I'll buy it. I'm going to buy it. So they bought it. And then, a few weeks after they bought it, there were people coming up to him, offering him like twice what they paid for it. Okay? There's some people, they don't see a good bargain until it falls on them. Until after they see what it goes for. Like one time I told my brother-in-law, I said, my friend really needs money. And he needs to pay his rent or he's going to get evicted. He's got a Harley Davidson Sportster. And it's worth over $3,000. This is years ago. And I said, he only wants 1,000 for it. My brother, just make him believe he doesn't hear me. 4 weeks later, he wants to buy the motorcycle. Tell your friend I want to buy it. I said, that's gone. What do you mean it's gone? I told you. It's like, oh, man. But I was surrounded by really stupid people. Cheap, stupid, rude. And that's rubbed off on me, man. I'm miserable with thinking about what got done to me. And I can't go back and fix it. And I don't want to get involved with any sets of plans, helping anybody under any circumstances, because I always get the dirty end of the stick, as they say. Okay? I think that's it. All right, that's it. Don't forget, PVC plastic is your friend. Lots of fun. You can build a lot of stuff for it. But do me a favor. Don't buy a sheet of PVC plastic if you never built anything before. Okay? Oh, I bought the plastic. Now what do I do? Oh, boy.